Shalom, giving all praises to Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai Bashem, Kakwadash. Shalom to the hopefully elect out there. We'll make this quick. Currently, I have a video premiering right now. So this is a response to was all the Pharisees wicked? So my title is there are wicked Pharisees and righteous Pharisees. And when I say Pharisees, I'm talking about these various offices that Israel had back during the time of the Messiah. You have the priests, you have the high priests, you have the Sadducees, you have the Sanhedrin, you have the doctors of the law, which all go under the same label because some of them were wicked and some of them were righteous. So I'm gonna let you listen to this. This is from a video. GMS receives a spiritual lashing. I'm gonna let you listen to a little bit, then I'm gonna speak on it. I'm gonna make this quick.
When did Christ go up to the Pharisees and debate doctrine? When did Christ go out his way to go seek the Pharisees? Never. Y'all do that. Y'all got the spirit of the Pharisees on you. Let's get that name. Read.
Okay, so let's examine. Let's go into it. First of all, when he knocked Paul off the horse in a ship, he used a beam, knocked him off the horse, and he was temporarily blinded. That's what people experience when they see a ship. They look up into the light. They're temporarily blinded. Could that be that, or a different, deeper spiritual meaning? Anyway, it was a ship, a UFO, so you can understand. And the person that talked to him was the Lord, Yahweh Shai. And he encountered, he sought after the Apostle Paul, which at that time was a Pharisee. And guess what? The Apostle Paul remained a Pharisee. So the word Pharisee is not synonymous with wicked. Pharisee was just an office. That's all it was an office. So they're going off. And he said, when did the Lord go up against the Pharisees about doctrine? Well, the scripture says, if a man's going off, you are to restore him in the spirit of meekness, meaning the spirit is the scriptures. Y'all did that. Y'all went up to the modern day Pharisees, which are the churches. And you told them that they were going off on this and they were going off on that. And it didn't end good for y'all, you know? And then y'all kept arguing with them. When they couldn't get it, you'd be out there for half an hour arguing with them. The scripture says, shake off your dust. Matthew, shake off the dust of your feet. In Matthew's 10. So they're wrong on the Pharisee thing. When you come across the word Pharisee, it doesn't necessarily mean a wicked Pharisee. Just like you got an Israelite. Israelites, there's wicked Israelites and there's righteous Israelites. There's wicked Pharisees and there's righteous Pharisees. There's wicked high priests and there's righteous high priests. There's wicked priests and there's a righteous priest. Nicodemus was high up. He had a high up seat and well respected among the Israelites at that time. And he secretly conversed with Yahweh Shai. And so this guy is saying, we're going off for arguing doctrine. Y'all did that. Come back to the church thing again. The first thing y'all did was, you guys are not supposed to be worshiping on a Sunday. You're supposed to be worshiping on a Friday sundown, a Saturday sundown, which both of y'all were wrong. The new moon comes, there's no place in the scripture that says Friday sundown and Saturday sundown. Now, if you go in the NLT, I believe the word Friday is in there, but they put that in there after the fact. The Sabbath comes in based upon the new moon, just like every high holy day. When you go to the list of the initial high holy days that was given to Moses by the Most High, Leviticus 23, he mentions Passover, he mentions the Feast of Weeks, he mentions the Day of Atonement, he mentions the memorial blowing of the trumpet. He mentions all those major high holy days, and they're all based upon the new moon. But the first high holy day that he mentions is the Sabbath. And then he says 6 days shall you work, and Sabbath of rest. It was all based upon the new moon. So how in the hell can Friday sundown, whatever country you go to, find out, they get their calendar and then count 7 days? That doesn't make any sense. So are we supposed to correct that man and rebuke that man and reprove that man? Yes, we are. You guys do go off on doctrine. Now, if you want to say that we go off on doctrine, we can debate that. We can argue that. And you're welcome to say that we're going off on this and we're going off on that. What you never do. You always backpedaling. We getting after you and you're kind of defending what you think the gospel should be, which is clearly wrong. So he was wrong. He said, man, why ain't y'all out there? Why don't you? Was Asaph? He said, shalom to Asaph. He said, he made a statement years ago. He said, everybody should stay in their lane. Where's that in the scriptures? Where's that in the scriptures? Did the scriptures say rebuke? When them churches was out, when you went out to them churches, did you stay in your lane with them churches? Hell no, you didn't stay in your lane with them churches, man. So let me go to the precepts. And I make it easy for myself. I don't got it. Look, I put in the word Pharisee. I could have put in the word Pharisees and I could have built upon the word, but I just put in the word Pharisee. Pharisee occurs 11 times in 10 verses. And I'm just going to read some of them. I'm cherry picking some of them. You can read all of them. It says Matthew 23, verse 26. If you start from the first verse of Matthew 23, it was the Lord that confronted them and cursed them out. It says, thou blind Pharisee, cleanse first that which is within the cup and platter, that the outer of them may be clean also. You got to get clean within your spirit first. Luke 11:37, and as he spake, a certain Pharisee, now you guys said Pharisees are wicked. A certain Pharisee besought him to dine with him, and he went in and sat down to meat. So if this Pharisee is supposed to be so wicked, why would the Lord, a Pharisee invites him to dinner? And the Lord said, yeah, I'll sit down and have dinner with you. Let's read the 38th verse. And when the Pharisee saw it, he marveled that he had not first washed before dinner, which means that's not in the law, the proper way of washing your hand. That's a tradition of the Israelites at that time. There was a tradition. That's why the Lord said the tradition of men. Let me see what it's. Let me go further into that. Let me open up another tab. Okay, I ain't got no blue letter. Okay, right here. So let me put that up in there. Luke 11, verse 38. Okay, let me read the 39th verse. And the Lord said unto him, now do ye Pharisee make clean the outside of the cup and the platter, but your inward part is full of ravening and wickedness. Because a lot of them, it says it's not a Jew that is outward, but a Jew that is within. I'm merely paraphrasing. Ye fools, did not he that made that which is without make that which is within also? It says, but rather give alms of such things as ye have, and behold, all things are clean unto you. But woe unto you, Pharisees, for ye tithe mint and rue and all manner of herbs, and pass over judgment and the love of the Most High. These ought ye to have done, and not to leave the other undone. What does that mean? You got a rich person that gives tithes, but he's wicked. He's wicked. He's on the inside. He's wicked. So you got to be righteous first. Woe unto you, Pharisees! For ye love the uppermost, that's the outward, seats in the synagogues, the temples, and greetings in the market. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye are as graves which appear not. And this is Matthew 23 all over again in the book of Luke. The same situation. But it says, they're fair toward me, taught by the precept of men, which I don't think it's in this book, it's in Matthew. Precept, give me a second. Precept of men. So the washing of the hands was a precept of men, of the Pharisees, tradition. Okay, so it says here, and I'm gonna read it. This is in the this version. But in vain do ye worship me, teaching doctrine, the precept of men. But in vain do they worship me, teaching as doctrine the precept of men. And this is what Bishop Nate is guilty of, because he says, oh, you can only have one wife. That's why he makes you guys bishops and deacons. What else? There's a bunch of things that he teaches that is of man and not of the Most High, which is a precept of man. Oh, your women have to be believers. If they don't, if you come into the IUIC and your wife doesn't turn over, you got to let her go, which causes her to commit adultery. That's a precept of men. So we're not supposed to tell you that? We welcome you to tell us. If we're going off on something, we welcome you to tell us, okay? We're not going to get all angry and you motherfuckers. So it says here, this is in a KJV, Matthew 15, verse 9. But in vain they do worship me, teaching for doctrine the commandments of men. Bear me for a minute. So why did he say that? The commandments of men? Because he said, but he answered and said unto them, why do ye also transgress the commandment of the Most High by your what? Tradition. Tradition. Because the washing of the hands were tradition. It was not law. Meaning they probably threw some water on their hands and they ate. And these monkey-minded Christians, they'll use this to say, oh, you can eat pork. You should have known when you roll up on them damn churches what the outcome was going to be. But in vain they do worship me, teaching for doctrine the commandments of men. And that's what Bishop Nate is guilty of. That's why we get on him. Let's come back over here. Jump down to Acts 5, verse 34. Then stood there up one in the council, a Pharisee named Gamaliel. Gamaliel was a righteous man because he stood in behalf of the apostles, a doctor of the law, Pharisee, doctor of the law, member of the Sanhedrin, high priest. So he had a high respected office in Israel at that time. Same with Nicodemus. had in reputation among all the people. They all knew him. He was a real well-respected man, had high office, but he was a righteous man and commanded to put the apostles forth a little space. And you know the rest of the story. Acts 23, verse 6. But when Paul received that the one part were Sadducees and the other part and the other Pharisees, he cried out in the council, men and brother, I am a Pharisee. So did the Apostle Paul remain a Pharisee? Yes. Was Apostle Paul wicked? No. Or is the Apostle Paul wicked? The son of a Pharisee. Paul grew up in a upper, we can say an upper middle class home, well educated. He was sent out and tutored by Gamaliel to be a high priest, to be a master of the law. He was a master of the law. It says of the hope and resurrection. So does that make the Apostle Paul wicked? Of the hope and resurrection of the dead, I am called in question. Acts 26, verse 5, which knew me from the beginning, if they would testify that after the most straightest or stringent sect of our religion, I lived a Pharisee. But guess what? He was still a Pharisee. He is right here. He's saying he pulled out his Pharisee card. Philippians 3, verse 5. Circumcised the 8th day, of the stock of Israel, of the tribe of Benjamin, and Hebrew of Hebrews, as touching the law, a Pharisee. So he challenged the Pharisees. He's saying, look, when it comes to keeping the law, I'm a Pharisee. I'm an expert in the law. I'm over you when it comes to the law. If you're going to debate me about the law, the fine points of the law, you're going to lose. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say shalom.